Welcome to the Wedco Podcast, where wedding wisdom meets street smarts.
We're dishing out all the tips, tricks, and wedding goss to take your wedding to the next level.
Time to ditch the formalities and get this party started. Hello and welcome to the Wedco Podcast. I'm Toga, and today we have Sarah from Florals & Co. as co-host with us. Thank you so much. And we got Michael from Michael Kelly Films on the couch.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for coming in, mate. Really appreciate it.
Very excited to be here.
You're back.
I'm nervous. I'm back.
Deep breathing.
We're just at the Valley Estate today filming. They've opened up the manor for us today. Just want to shout out to the Valley Estate for having us on. Thank you very much. I think we might start with a little bit of your backstory and go from there.
Yeah, cool. So I've been filming weddings since 2012, I think. So I think I was 18, just out of school. I'd bought a camera. Actually, I don't know how far you want to go back here. I'm like,
as far as you want to go.
I was doing concreting.
Yep.
Which doesn't, if you know me, you'd be shocked. Because these hands were made for the computer. Just to save money to buy some cameras, just to film surfing and skateboarding and all that stuff. And saved up a little bit, bought some cameras. And I'd never really seen wedding videos before. I mean, being 18.
Yeah, exactly.
And also
not what you do after school.
Yeah,
exactly.
That many weddings.
And there was it was like the big Sony shoulder cameras and all that. It was before DSLRs, or it was as DSLRs. I think the 5D Mark II was kind of like the big camera at the time. So wedding videos have kind of changed. And I saw one on YouTube and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. I reckon I could do that. And so, I started chatting to a friend who was getting married, and I went, hey, look, you probably have never seen a wedding video like this. Can I just rock up and shoot it? And then from there, I posted on my Facebook and didn't look back, really. Yeah, I mean, I think I booked, that was in February of, I think, 2012. I could be wrong. And then I think I had my next wedding after that was April 2012. So it was like just happened so fast. And then I think that first year, it was like probably 30 weddings.
Yep.
Word of mouth? Did you do any advertising?
That was word of mouth. Yeah,
so good.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I even had a website. I think it was just on my own personal Facebook, and it was all just like friends and friends of friends. And I think people just kind of hadn't seen wedding videos with. I mean, I won't try to get too technical, but like the kind of that shallow depth of field and like with like the DSLRs and all that. So, it was kind of the 5-minute highlight films and all that. So it was exciting. It was a really exciting time. And been doing it ever since.
Yeah. Were you taking from like your surf and skate? Like, did you take parts of that into the wedding film when you got it?
Probably not. Like, I mean, obviously they're so different. I mean, to be fair, I sucked. I didn't really know what I was doing with the camera. I didn't really know if things were in focus. So, I mean, it was all just
fake it till you make it.
I was learning on the go. Like, it wasn't quite what it is now. Like, cameras are very different, and you kind of just had to suck for a long time before you got good. Whereas now the gear kind of makes it a bit easier to be good.
Definitely. Yeah.
Quick.
I remember like the changeover to mirrorless and like, everything's just in focus.
Mate.
It's like, it just felt like cheating. You could pretty much just like hold one hand and then like, the eye's in focus the whole time.
Mate.
Yeah. It's a bit of a difference.
Yeah, I mean, going
Technology.
back then, and like, again, like I can say 12 years ago, but there'd be people commenting being like, oh, well, I shot weddings 25 years ago. And I get that it's always changing, but when we shot, like there was no slow motion, there was no autofocus. Like you were kind of just, I don't know, it was just so different. Like it took so long to get good at making weddings, and you had to put so much work in each one to really,
And I presume even the editing would be a lot easier now with all the sort of apps and things that you would have, technology?
Yeah, I would say so, for sure.
Yeah.
A lot of, like template things and I don't know, yeah.
So you're a pretty big name in the industry. Like if especially within like the videographer kind of realm, people will know who you are. And so
Toot your own horn.
I suck at talking about myself. So
He's like turning bright red.
But it is like when I told people, you're coming on, and like everyone was fangirling over it and I was fanboying over it.
Yeah, right.
So it's just because I feel like you have also like taught a lot of people, like everyone I speak to, like even when we had Mitch on, he was talking about it as well. Like I feel like you have just inadvertently taught people along the way throughout your journey as well. It almost felt like the industry was learning as you were learning too.
Right. I mean, that's something haven't really thought about it. But no, it was like, I mean, I only got to where I am because of people that helped me.
Yep.
I mean, like, I don't know, Mitch Lally, who he like was a gun like from early on. So when I started, I found he was pretty much the only other person I could see that was doing like similar kind of work that I wanted to do. And I just messaged him and he replied and helped me so much where I started working for him and then like still one of my really good mates now. So I don't know. I just took that and I was kind of like, well, I wouldn't be where I am if someone didn't help me. So, and I mean, it's not like I take people to weddings all the time, but like if someone messages me a question, like you want to help as much as you can. I don't know. I feel like you kind of got to give back to an industry that's helped you so much, I guess.
Good karma too.
Yeah.
And like how much you are learning as well, like when you are teaching other people and then you kind of like, oh yeah, I do that. And like you're kind of learning.
Yeah, it makes you think, more about why you're doing things. If they ask a question, you go, oh, well, that's just how it is. You're like, well, why is it like that? Like maybe I don't have to do that. So it makes you think.
And then, like when you started, I guess it would have been, like you said, it was like friends of friends to start with as well, kind of similar people to you. But then you kind of rose to kind of doing these more elegant, more kind of luxury that I guess both of you would service the higher end markets. Did you find that changed how you kind of produced your work once you kind of moved on to like your mates to like, okay, now we're at the Valley Estate or you've been at really high end venues, the work you had to produce?
Yeah, definitely. But I mean, like back then it was such a long period of time, like where I just kind of slowly got better and gear got better and everything that like it didn't feel like it was such a quick change. So I think I just gradually got better at filming weddings. Like that, I guess the venues I was shooting at kind of also got better. Like it was just like a long-winded thing, whereas now I feel like you can start shooting and within a year be filming here, like so.
You really worked your way up and earned your stripes.
Oh,
like
looking back, it's like the weddings that I did for so long, and I like still do them.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. Like, it's so different back then to what it is now. And you had to work hard for a long time to kind of make it, I guess. Yeah.
Okay, and so like the wedding industry when you started compared to like, so how long have you been like had a little bit of hiatus at the moment? Like you're coming back to it now.
Yeah,
like,
well,
I want to talk about this hiatus.
Oh, jeez. Oh, I mean, look, I think it's only really been a few months. Just because, I mean, you obviously book weddings so far in advance. So I stopped taking bookings kind of end of last year, but I've still been kind of filming weddings over the last, this whole year really. But I think I've only shot probably 3 or 4 of my own this year. And then I've jumped in and helped out a few other people when needed, which is something I'd probably, even if I did stop filming weddings, I'd probably still always do that if someone needed me to jump in. Like, yeah, all right, put the filming hat back on.
It's kind of nice when it's not your own pressure. You can go do the job, work hard.
Yeah,
but it's not on your actual business.
Yeah, give them the footage, go home, and
see ya.
Enjoy my Sunday. But hiatus. Yeah, so next year I just decided. Well, this year I decided for next year. Yep, take 10 and just see how it goes. Be really picky. Take the ones you want. But yeah, inquiries are not what they used to be.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Which is probably something I imagine we'll talk about as well. But yeah, so I don't really know where I'm at with the hiatus. As in, I'm kind of still not really filming currently, but I've got weddings next year. So I'm like 4 months without, like between now and March, I think my next one is. So, but
sometimes
next year,
a break is good. Yeah.
So next year I'm like, I'm back on, I think. Permanent part-time.
Yeah. And has it just been like overwhelmed like the past? Because you've been doing it for so long. Is it you had too many weddings and you're like, I kind of need a break because I'm doing too many? Or like how does that happen?
Nah, like, well, I wasn't planning on taking a break essentially. Like I was done. Like I was like, nah, I'm done. I've moved on to something else. Like I'm working full-time somewhere else now. And so I don't know, the wedding, you can't really leave the wedding industry. It's always got one hand on you. It always brings you back. I mean, I've tried to, like, I love weddings, don't get me wrong, but I've tried to leave about 5 times.
But like you said, we do book work 12 to 15 months out. You're locked in for a whole year. So it does always have that hand on you. Because you're like, oh, I'll book that in. And then you can't really get out of it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's it. You know how much money is coming in for next year, and it's like, okay, cool. I need to stop that tap for next year right now, or else you're going to still be doing the same thing next year.
Yeah, and it's kind of like, I guess deposits, I guess, are kind of the profit. You know, you live off deposits, so you kind of need to take on work now for a year's time, and then a year's time comes around and you go, oh my gosh, I'm so busy, and then I just need to keep booking another year. So it's kind of like you're locking yourself constantly in 12 year in advance, 9 to 12 months. Yeah.
And so, like, you're saying leads are a little bit different. Do you think that's just because you haven't had so much work going out there? Are you saying like leads aren't coming in like they used to?
Yeah, like I mean, it used to be like 3 a day.
I completely agree. Yeah, we used to get slammed with inquiries, and it's much quieter now.
And now's like maybe 1 a week. Like, but again, like I'm not promoting myself that much.
But everyone you speak to in the industry, even for floristry friends who are really busy and sort of at the level that I'm at, are also like, oh, it's a lot quieter. So there's still people getting married. There are like some good inquiries are still coming through, but just not on the level that it used to be. I would say 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm. And do you think that was all just because like organic?
I think that with the
Instagram-
COVID lag that we've spoken about, Shane Shepherd spoke on here before about couples not getting engaged because people weren't really meeting in COVID, so they weren't getting engaged. So there's just like a bit of, I think, like a year lag where not as many people are getting engaged.
That's so interesting because even when people were saying that during COVID, like, oh, like people aren't going to be meeting, so weddings are going to quieten down. Like people were calling that during COVID, and I was like, nah, that's not true.
Yeah.
But I guess it probably is.
I think it's part of it. Yeah. But there's still people. I think cost of living as well. People are choosing to put money into other things, but there is still people getting married, and there's still some good inquiries coming through. I just think maybe the volume isn't there like it used to be. If I'm being blatantly honest. Yeah.
I mean, I think from video, I think there is a few other things as well. I guess content creators, which, I mean, I have lost bookings, which I mean. It kind of goes both ways because if a couple isn't going to, if they're getting a content creator, they're probably never going to book me anyway. So that could be one thing. I mean, I know you've talked about it probably a million times, but photo, video, like one company that does both.
That's like 95% of our bookings now are photo, video.
Yeah.
And it's like, no one's booking just photo or just video.
Yeah.
It's, it just feels like, and that's what I want to kind of ask you because I always felt like if you're at the higher end, that wouldn't bother you because people are booking you for your films and people are booking the epic photographer for their photos. Whereas I think kind of to be in the middle, you kind of have to offer both the photo and video because it's like that upsell.
Yeah.
Whereas like if you are outside of that, I feel like, they're buying you for the artist of who you are.
Yeah. No, I think that's definitely true.
Yep.
Maybe I'm not as high end as I thought. No. I'm not sure. Like it's a big thing now. Obviously, everyone does it. Every videographer that was just doing video before is doing photos now. Every photographer is offering video.
And has it become a big thing with videographers also offering the social media side of things to have an assistant there with an iPhone on the day, or are they booking an external social media?
I think externally a lot of the time, but they definitely would be. I would think more so photographers. That would be offering it.
Yeah.
As just an add-on.
Yeah, definitely.
And probably more so just so they know the person that's going to be there.
Yeah.
Because if you've got someone with a phone all day, you don't know how much they're going to be trying to jump in and, you know, everyone's got to get what they got to get. But if there's a videographer, photographer and a content creator and everyone wants that one shot, like it could start butting heads a little bit. So,
but it makes sense why we've spoken about this before, like a lot of videographers and photographers work together a lot because you know, rather than working with random people who you may get in each other's way, you nice and cohesively work together. Yeah.
I've even found like a lot of photographers are getting like content creators on almost like training them up to be the video aspect of their photography.
Okay.
Because like if they're like they got their phone there and they're kind of like learning, because like I feel like 50% of it is actually just learning the wedding day. And if you can kind of learn the wedding day and what happens and where to be and how a portrait shoot runs and everything like that, you can almost like be training them up and then all of a sudden kind of putting them onto doing little parts of the video throughout the day as well.
And do you think that then removes the need for a videographer?
No. Like there's still, for me, hardly any of the weddings I do have content creators.
Yeah.
But it also might be a different market where people are kind of just pulling the money together for the photo, video, that they don't have the extra money to go content creator. I'm not sure how that is in the upper levels. They probably do have the money for photo, video and content and it's not an issue.
But I mean, I know that those Instagram, social media reels and stuff is huge. There's quite a lot of people doing it as a business now, but it doesn't compare to a beautifully done video. It cannot compare. Like I still watch our wedding video back when we got married a few years ago, and it's chalk and cheese. So I don't think that, I know you're saying that you may have lost work to the content creators, but it's not the same at the end of the day. You're just getting reels for Instagram, but like a beautifully done video that you can show your kids in 20 years' time is pretty priceless.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I was having a chat to Chandler. She's socially wed the other day, and she was saying like, because she's doing content, she's like trying to really be like, well, how am I different to videographers? And she's like, how much effort she's putting into the connections between all the people, which I feel like a lot of videographers used to do in the day. Like, okay, who's dad, who's mum, who's nana, and like trying to figure out who those really important people are. But she's like, I really need to know those connections because I don't have a highlight film. Like I don't have this polished thing that I can't compare. I need to do something completely different. Yeah. And I feel like that's the aspect she's going, whereas a lot of other content creators are just like, oh, here's a BTS of the girls dancing, and then they jump into their dress and that's it.
True.
Yeah,
so she's still trying to find the story in the wedding, which is like, that's amazing. That's awesome.
That's awesome because there is quite a few people doing it now and popping up. I guess you have to really strive for a point of difference, like she's saying.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. But yeah, well, I guess we'll go back to like where you're looking forward to now. So like where are you based?
I'm based on the Gold Coast.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
And are you trying to book more locally at the moment?
Yeah, I'm definitely Southeast Queensland. I'm opening to travel, but I'm pretty keen to stay home. I love home.
Yep.
On the Gold Coast.
And we're pretty lucky on the Gold Coast. So there's amazing venues opening up.
Exactly. And there's so many of them. There's so many venues opening up.
And I've always said with being based on the Gold Coast, because I am too, I always have been, is we're in the middle between Brisbane, Gold Coast, Byron. So we have the best of both worlds, I think, and between that, and even Sunshine Coast too.
And Toowoomba.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like I don't know what shape that makes, but it's like kind of like a triangle.
Yeah. I think it's the best location to be.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
And do you see like things have shifted a little bit, so with leads being a little bit slower, do you think what people are producing for wedding films are a little bit different to what they were 4 or 5 years ago?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like the trends now it's crazy. And I think, you kind of have, like if you want to get those inquiries every day, like you have to adapt and change. And I think as soon as I go, all right, I'm just going to keep doing what I've been doing and it's worked for the last 12 years, so it should keep working. Like eventually that's not going to work. So yeah, I love wedding films now. I think I always did, obviously, but they're so cool. Like, and like you can tell, like guests and couples are actually having fun in a lot of the, I guess the kind of main style that's, I guess, really known now is a lot of black and white and that fast pace. And it's just, I don't know, like it's super engaging and you can kind of sit down and just watch a 7-minute video and just go, oh wow.
But even the incredible like drone footage of the above, I love watching that too.
Yeah.
The scenic stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know. It has changed a lot, but I like it. Like I like the way it's going. But my wife's a photographer and she loves like following the trends and like what's big and like she'll constantly adapt her style and so I posted a video. It was probably a few weeks ago and it was probably the first one I've posted for a while, and it was like just like a little 1.5-minute preview from a wedding I shot a few years ago. And she was like, no, use that shot. No, you got to use that shot.
I love
and she's like, black and white that one, do that. And I'm like, Carly, that's like the bit where I'm moving the camera from one subject to another subject, and it's like the bit in between.
Yep.
Like
but that's the trend
That's the bit
now.
I cut. Yeah. And she's like, no, that's what you want.
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't know. I'm just enjoying it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's something different. It's good. It's
Constantly evolving.
You've got to. You have to. And in this industry especially, like, and now with videographers, there's a million. And like I said before, like gear's so cheap now.
Yep.
It's super accessible to buy 2 or 3 cameras, audio gear, and you can spend $5,000 and probably have like a setup.
Yeah, good setup.
And probably can't see a massive difference between an average videographer and a pretty good videographer. Videographer. So I don't know. You have to adapt and keep learning, and
But I always say, even with Forrester, it's like once you become complacent and think you're the top, like you're so good, give up. I always say that. I'm always like challenging because trends are changing, constantly buying new structures and vases and things, like keeping up with trends and changing and adapting to like different types of style. And I am always not self-doubting, but I'm like, no, we can always be better. What would we have changed about that? Maybe we could do this differently that time. And that keeps challenging me. I think I'd be bored otherwise.
Are trends evolving as fast within floristry as what they are with photo and video? do you
Yeah,
think?
definitely. They're always, but like I do love, classic things that won't date, but then there's some, you get a really cool trendy brief. You're like, oh, this is fun and different.
Yep.
Yeah, so it just depends on what, but I always go, we just adapt to what people's style that they want. And same with, I guess, videography, you could maybe chat to them about what kind of they're wanting out of the video on the day.
Yep.
Do you do that? Or you kind of just got people book you because of your style?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
I would
sure.
say more. They come to you and go, we've seen what you do.
And we trust you.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
And if you do get someone that, careful what I say. If you do get someone that's probably trying to tell you how they want it, I mean, not how they want, like, but if they're like, oh, can you do this style, like, and they send you a video that's completely different,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh, then maybe we're not the best.
Yeah,
suited.
here's some other recommendations.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But if you're going to say like, oh, we really want this person in the video, and and it's like, okay, well that just makes sense. So yeah, tell me those things.
Yeah. So you can have your little dot
But if the
points on
style
day.
is completely different, like, probably just go over there.
Do you find that you have to give your couples much education around like the film, as far as like what to expect on the day, or like I guess every couple comes to us and they're like, oh, we're horrible in front of the camera.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you have to give them much education on the lead up?
I've always, and this could be a bad thing, I'm not sure, but I've always been like, I always like meet on Zoom or whatever with a couple and just chat through like the actual plan of the day, but I don't, this sounds bad, but I don't give them a lot of like direction and things like that before. On the day, I'm very, like, I don't say much in regards to direction. Like, I'll walk in, get it kind of a vibe of the couple and just try to like match. I think matching like how they are.
Yeah,
like not
cool.
walking into a room and just being like, hey everyone. Like, and if they're like really
Here I
quiet, like it.
Yeah.
If I'm there and a photographer walks in and they're like that, and I know the couples.
You have to be a bit of a chameleon. Like,
Oh, like it.
adapt your personality.
Yeah. Or if you walk in, the boys are like, oh, like Mick's here, like, oh, you want a beer? And you're like, all right, cool. Like, I didn't really, but if I have a beer now in the morning and it's the first impression, they're gonna be like, oh, this guy's fun. And so like, I think, I don't know, having a camera then after that, once they're like, oh, this guy's like, he's fine.
Yes,
like,
exactly.
Like, he's not gonna make it weird. But as far as like direction goes, most photographers I work with, like, we shoot a similar kind of way.
Yep.
So I don't really have to jump in too much. If there's something I need, I will say something. But for me, I've always just found if we're trying to both direct, it's just a bit clunky and doesn't, maybe work as well. That's for, just how I found it for me. Other people are probably different.
Yep.
So if couples come to you and then they look for a photographer recommendation, I'm assuming that you guys would both sort of give them a list of people that you have worked with a lot in the past?
Yeah. I mean, usually...
Like, would you, do it yourself, but like you only do video? Yeah.
Usually it's the other way around. So usually they'll book a photographer first, and then I'll get usually recommended from a photographer that I've worked with. So but I can't imagine ever recommending a photographer that I haven't worked with before.
Yeah.
Like, you've probably got my 5 or so that I'm like, this is a reunion when we get to work together. Like, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Oh, well, probably my wife is probably the first one I'll recommend. Yeah.
Do you find like, okay, so you would have used to get recommended by a fair few like photographers that you worked with a lot. Do those leads still come through, or have they kind of now started doing in-house as well?
I'm trying to think. I mean, I still definitely do get the recommendations from a lot of the same photographers. But I think a lot of people have been, not by me, but like burnt by people that they've recommended for the opposite. So like, if you're a videographer and then you start offering photos and another photographer's recommended you, it's pretty easy to go, oh, well, just book our photo video package, and then someone's recommended you and then you've just been like, oh, sorry. So, I mean, I think probably a lot of that's
for sure.
happening.
Yeah, that's been big as well. Like, even with the COVID, like, everyone was like, okay, cool, I'm going to take on photo, and then I'm going to book 3 more, and I'm going to get you an associate shoot for these 3 weddings.
Yeah.
And whereas before that, it was like, I'm booked. Would you guys like this work?
Yeah.
And I feel like it's slowly starting to come back to that.
Okay.
But like, it was really to the point where like, I would make a point where I'm definitely not giving you a lead, lead, because you're trying to take on 3 weddings.
Yeah.
And like, you just don't need to be greedy like that.
Yeah.
That's so true.
Unless you are like a studio setup and this is the setup we actually have. Whereas it just felt like everyone's just like trying to take everything. And
then just sending sort of random freelance photographers out. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, like still friends, I guess, and still people they knew were good photographers. But in the past, it used to be like, cool, I've got my 30.
Yeah.
Here's a lead that looks like a good one. I'm already booked, and you would help each other out.
Yeah, I agree. We used to back in the day when I had, full-timer and part-timer, and I think I spoke about this when I was on the podcast as a guest. I'm not co-hosting. I, went big and did all of that, and I would send a team out in one van and I'd go out in the other van. And there's, it was always fun, but the stress was always on me. So I'm just downscaling next year, and I have a rule, we don't do more than one in a day.
Yep.
Because I just want to give our couples completely all of me and my team that I have, because I know a lot of people do take on multiple in a day. I've done that, and I'm just choosing not to. I want to be a bit more bespoke. And I guess with you guys, you don't, because you don't have you do one day? Or
Yeah,
do
no,
you do a
I
couple?
don't. I don't get like I'll only have like a videographer with me if I'm there. Like
Yeah.
I definitely don't do the associate thing, mainly because I don't want to. Like so many people helped me out when I started. Like there used to be like 5 of us, and we'd kind of all be booked and give each other work.
Yep.
And I just feel like it's really shit. Like I do. It's
Yeah.
like unless. Yeah, you are a studio based in Brisbane that do 200 weddings or whatever, and that is
and
the
that
thing.
have plenty of staff. Yeah, and some
Exactly.
people do
Yeah.
that incredibly well,
Yeah.
and they have staff that have been with them for years, and they trust them.
Yeah,
Totally
And
go for
it's
it.
also kind of a lot of the time a different product. They might be getting photo and video for like $3,000, and you're like, it's not kind of comparable to what you're doing. If like I'm rocking up for the wedding, this is me. It's kind of you're the artist. It's a different thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just feels icky to me to do that.
See, I've never really thought of it like that, and like that's a great way to think about it. Like
Yeah.
I think that's
Yeah,
that's true. I mean, the wedding industry, it's changed so much. Like I think pre-COVID, post-COVID
Yeah.
is like
Yeah, we're all just
It's-
still kicking on after
it's-
COVID. Yeah.
two completely different things.
Yep.
Like you were saying, like pre-COVID was just everyone was kind of like, here's a lead, here's this, here's that. Like we used to catch up. I mean, and maybe people still do this. I don't know. Maybe I'm just not invited. But like all the videographers used to be friends. Everyone knew
Yep.
each other. It was awesome. It was so good. And I feel like now is just like a shit fight.
More competitive.
There's just so many people, and people are trying to undercut each other, and I don't know.
Same with floristry. There's
Yeah.
a lot
Oh,
of new
it'd
people
be-
doing a course, popping up
Yeah.
and charging peanuts. I totally get they have to build their portfolio, but
Yeah.
it's just, it's a lot more competitive, I think. But we
Yeah.
just have to I just maintain that very premium level that we've always had. So it's, I guess, chalk and cheese.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I often say, if they get a cheaper quote, I say, what flowers are they using? Like,
Yeah.
things like I can't compete because we just use premium.
Yep.
Yeah.
But it's also so like I've just started like kind of a monthly catch up with like wedding vendors within like the Gold Coast Byron area.
Yeah.
And I feel like if you're actually catching up with people, it's way harder to kind of demonize people. Like if you never see
Oh,
each
yeah.
other, you just like you see their Instagram handle and you're just kind of like they're the worst. But then when you actually meet up in person, you're like, oh, you're a good person.
You're
Yeah.
like, oh no, we're gonna be friends.
Yeah.
But just building up those connections. Like I went down to Newcastle and recorded down there, and that same thing. They had like all a studio together. All these, I think there was like 8 or 10 vendors, all worked in the same studio together, and they just had like this really tight connection.
I did listen to that episode. That sounded cool. I'm like, we
Yeah.
need something like that up here.
Yeah, fully.
Yeah.
And it's just, like to bring that back. And like even when I was in Melbourne, in Brunswick, it was the same thing. There was like a wedding kind of studio and everyone worked out of there. And, there'd be designers, there'd be videographers, photographers, and they'd kind of just all bounce work and everything off each other.
That's cool.
So just trying to kind of really build that back up.
Because it gets lonely working alone.
Yeah.
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 That's like, even if I can do like a job on my own, I'm like, I still like to have people around me because you're bouncing off each other and getting the creative juices flowing.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
A little community.
I'll try and bring a second shooter now to, like, I've got one guy, if he's available, I'll just get him, even if it's not a 2-shooter wedding, just
Yep.
because I'm like having him there on the day and just kind of like, I think because we just have like, I guess, such good banter and like we just have fun
Yeah.
on the day as well, and then that helps the couple.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
It kind of makes you looser on the day as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's like we're all having fun. We're all having,
You guys are essentially like the hype guys of
Yeah,
the day,
yeah.
like, keeping the energy up
just
the
there
bridal
for-
party.
yeah. I mean, we're with the bride, and like with the bride longer than the groom's with the bride on the wedding day. So
Yeah.
like if we're weirdos,
And then you're like on the dance floor at the end of the night, like, ooh, ooh.
yeah. Like, yeah. So I think weddings are, I mean, a big part of it's just reading the room as well.
Yeah.
Like I was saying before, like you just don't be weird.
Yeah, if it's a
Be
more
normal,
formal
like-
wedding and they're maybe
Yeah.
not big drinkers or party animals, you're not going to be on the dance floor with the camera like, ooh, ooh.
Yeah, like if you know the couple are, it's a real religious couple.
Yeah.
Like you get there in the morning and you kind of like, okay, like like I get it. And then like I said before, like photographer walks in like, hey motherfucker. I don't know cuss there, sorry. But like, and you kind of like,
Yeah.
and you're like, oh no, like,
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
weddings are
Read
great.
the vibe.
Yeah, weddings are the best, and you meet so many good people, and I don't know if you're not weird, well, actually, I was going to say, I've been saying how hard it is to get work, but it's easy to get work if you're not weird, but maybe I'm a little bit weird then.
But I find that like even I have so many brides that I've just stayed in touch with and stayed friends with, and we might follow each other on Instagram, and then it's I get inquiries, you did my friend such and such's wedding, like word of mouth still in this industry. And I, Google reviews, like I've got great Google reviews, but I feel like it's like the amount of inquiries I do get that you did my cousin's friend's wedding or something like that, word of mouth is still so strong in this industry. So when you're not a weirdo and you're nice and you're good to deal with, people are always going, and you do a beautiful job, people are always going to recommend you.
Yeah, word of mouth, I mean, for me, like I've never really done any other advertising. It's pretty much just been word of mouth. Or like, I guess, venues recommending, which is, I guess is word of mouth. That's been huge. I think that's, number one.
Do you find, like, obviously your podcast is pretty big. Do you find that helps with, like, because I feel like that's the only differentiator now, well, one of the main ones is like people actually need to know who you are. Like, unless they've been to a wedding that they've seen you at, it's like it's really hard to get in front of people and to show them your personality, because essentially people are booking your personality a lot of the time. Like you've got florals kind of maybe a little bit different, but also you as a person. Yeah,
I do. I mean, like, look, I have my personal Instagram in my bio so that people could maybe go on my page and see that, like, I'm not a weirdo, I'm just pretty normal. But because I don't get on my...
Pretty normal.
Pretty normal. I don't get on my Instagram on Florals and Co enough and be face-to-face. And I think when I was on here with you guys, I said, that's my goal. I'm going to be more face-fronting on there. So I am always saying that I need to do that. But I think maybe if they can, like, see my personal page, it can maybe help them relate to me a bit. So I choose to do that. But I probably should be more front-facing on the business page.
Yeah, but even, like, I don't know, like when you see people doing that on the business page, which is like awesome if you're doing it, it's still kind of like you're still putting on a bit of like this is for my business page, like this isn't necessarily me. And like some people are really good at just going
naturally getting on there.
I put my personal Instagram in my business bio literally I think yesterday or the day before.
Awesome.
I was like, you know what, that's
I've just always had it.
I'm a bit of like I don't know, I don't take things too serious, and I think people go to my Instagram and they're like, oh yeah, he's a bit of a larrikin, I guess.
But that's
and
it.
then you attract you're attracting the kind of clients that you want to work with anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
and it's just, as much as you try to make it normal, like when you're talking to your phone, you're like, it just feels like shit. You're like,
who's got a gun to your head off?
It's like the worst.
There's so few people that do it, and you're like, oh, wow, that's awesome. And I think you've got to just go one take, and that's the one.
I know, because when you start re-recording, like, hey, it just gets more awkward and more awkward.
Luke Middlemas is the one that, like, I mean, I don't really go on my business Instagram too much anymore. But like he would always film videos of him talking to camera, but it would just be one take, and that's it. And he'd just have to post that. And I was like, I learned a bit from that when I was doing more. And I was like,
and just not even look at it, just post it and not
and
criticize it.
That's good. Otherwise, you're like, hey, I'm just here at Chris and Melanie's wedding. Oh shit, I'll go again. And then you're like sitting in the car at the front of their house, like trying to like look the psycho.
But can we talk about, just to bring up Instagram and how you never really go on there much anymore? Because I'm, the same. I go weeks without posting anything, and then I do post something. I'm like, oh, it's stunning. That's going to get so many likes, so many views, and it gets like, I've got like 25,000 organic natural followers I've just built over the years on there, and I go, oh my god, that's so sad. It got like 20 likes, and but then I think you have to constantly be on there liking other people's posts and staying active on it. So that's a whole other job in itself, and it's so deflating when you do post something that you're like, beautiful, everyone's going to love that, and then no one sees it. A lot of my girlfriends are like, I don't see Florals and Co stuff in the feed. So then I'm like, Instagram,
and you're just getting
sucks.
ads.
Yeah.
Things that you're like, why
and other random people's reels.
Yeah.
So that's a whole other, that's
a
whole other job in itself, I think, is the social media.
Being consistent.
Yeah.
Like I remember I used to post, say I'd post 2 or 3 videos a week. I feel like I used to post and there would be a spike in inquiries within a couple of hours after
just getting on people's radar.
Yeah. And then I posted, a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, well, a couple of weeks ago, that doesn't sound good.
But I do feel like when you do post, or like if I do a post of stories, like for example, I do a lot of weddings here, and I'll do a post of stories, the Valley Estate will repost it, and then I find some inquiries come through because you get on the people following their Instagram, you get on their radar, and they go, oh, I need to actually inquire with some florists. So it is so important to try and be active on there, and I'm constantly reminding myself
and I think the collaborative posts as well now is like, I've seen a lot of other people doing that, and I was like, oh, I should probably start doing that. And that, because I mean, you're just getting all like, what you post is just going to a whole nother audience that would never have seen your work before. And I mean, if you did a collaborative post with the Valley Estate.
Yep.
Then
I
all
mean,
of
how many
their-
people are following them that are getting married here? And
Yeah.
it's crazy. Yeah.
But then that's the thing is like, because I would do that as well. But then it's almost like you got to make it a business decision. Like you got to hit them up like, hey, in a week, I want to post
Yeah.
this. Does this cover sit with your Instagram?
Yeah.
And it's almost like you got to really plan it with them because they've got their feed organized for the month.
For sure.
And
Yeah.
they're not just going to accept some random like thumbnail that comes
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
Which is cool. Like not many people think like that. But yeah, if you can actually plan it, a lot of the venues will be on board with it.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. That's good to know because I.
Yeah.
He's like writing down all of these tips.
No, I like because I just sent like a collaborative request and like
Yep.
and then like because I'm always a Gavin Mum.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I know the team there so well and they're like, oh, like we probably can't do this one. Like
Yep.
our schedule's set for a month in advance
Yeah.
or whatever. And I was like, that makes so much sense. So
Yeah.
yeah, like that's
And they might not even see
Great
it.
advice.
You know, if they're getting lots
Yeah.
of likes,
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
seriously, if they're getting lots of likes, it might even just disappear where
Yeah.
they don't
Yeah.
even see the request for
yeah,
it.
yeah,
And then you just feel really hurt that they didn't accept it.
yeah, yeah,
Rejection.
yeah.
So yeah, but I mean that's a big difference. But for me, like I mean, I'm throwing like about $2,000 in like ads a month now, and that's I feel like it is just all pay to play. It's like unless
and
you're
you
kind of
said
doing
that's
that,
really helped you.
it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's like like there'll be most weeks I'm kind of getting between 10 and 15 leads a week. I would usually get 3 to 4 a month.
Yeah.
But it's not the same inquiry as like coming from a venue or coming from a thing.
course.
Like, you know, out of the 10, 15, you might book 2, and out of the say 3 or 4, you're probably booking 3 or 4 if it's coming through a recommendation.
But you're being more
But-
seen.
yeah,
You know,
exactly
more
right.
people are seeing your stuff.
Yeah. So I think it's like,
Worth it.
yeah, especially the payoff, you know, for photo, video, the booking you get, it's 100% worth if you're putting, you know, $50 or $70 a day into ads.
Yep.
You can kind of go a whole week and then it's still worth that whole week of advertising to book
Yeah.
that one job. But I feel like without that, like you're saying, no one's seeing you at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't
And with
have,
how much competition there is out there,
Yep.
it's, you really need to be seen.
yeah, and you don't have time to be a full-time social media person. Like, you know, like that has to be your job.
Yeah.
Like if you want to be seen on social media, you need to be doing that 40 hours a week, building your social media. And there's
And
just,
it's so much time.
it sucks. It's the worst.
I don't want to.
Didn't get into the wedding industry to be on social media.
No.
Nah, and again, it wasn't really like that 10 years ago, 12 years
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah.
I mean, social media was obviously there, but
Yeah.
Do you advertise with any like wedding platforms?
I never have.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, again, word of mouth was just so strong and like, venue recommendations and things like that were just,
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, it was photographers were definitely the big one for a long time.
Yep.
And then, probably did shift a little bit, going back to what we were saying before, just with like photo, video packages. But yeah, photographers, that was the big one for sure.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
I even feel like planners are kind of coming into it a little bit more than what they were back in the day. Like
Yeah.
there are a fair few inquiries we'll get from planners, whereas I feel like 5 years ago that was never the case. You know, like you're like, oh, that's American, cool. You know,
Yeah,
you can
yeah,
do the
yeah.
planner thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But I feel like it is slowly kind of building. And even planners on the cheaper end of things are still kind of sending through leads as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. And planners are good because if you're working with if you're working with the same planner a lot and is a high end one, you know that every lead they're sending through,
Yep.
you're
Yeah.
like, oh, that's a wedding I want to cover
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Awesome, mate. Well, would you have any final thoughts before we wrap up here?
Oh no. I don't.
Yeah. So 10-ish weddings for next year's the goal.
Oh, that's what I've got.
Are you
booked.
like,
So you'll book
contact
like
me
20.
guys?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Is that what people usually?
So where can people find you?
Just on the socials.
Yeah.
Look out for my monthly post.
Yeah, yeah.
No. 10 weddings is what I've kind of got at the moment.
He'll be doing
Might
30.
do a few more.
Yeah. I did mean to ask before, Carly, your wife, she's
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah.
Do you guys get to work together often?
Yeah, most of my weddings now are probably with her.
Yep.
Or a fair few now, yeah.
People probably like that little husband-wife duo.
Yeah. And it's not like we don't have like a joint package or
Yep.
one business that offers both, but it's
Yep.
kind of like it makes sense.
And it just goes back to like before when I said, do you have a specific photographers you'd recommend? You're going to recommend her first.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And like I'll still send through 3 others that I know recommend me and
Yep.
we
Yep.
get along with really well. Because if I get to work with them as well,
Yeah.
great day. Like
Yeah,
it's
for
gonna be
sure.
good.
Beautiful
Yeah.
outcome.
Would you consider rolling you guys into the one thing?
Nah,
No, okay.
I don't think so.
Yep.
I think it's kind of working now. It's good. I still think, and I could be wrong, but like having just like your photo studio, video studio, it is easier to get
Higher end.
high end weddings.
Definitely.
Because Because if people have the budget, they're going to get whoever they want. So they're not going to be like, oh, but they,
Yep.
Yeah, I think being husband and wife as well, it's kind of like that just makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. The perception's definitely there. Like, I focus on video. This is what I do.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like, it's going to be a higher experience.
There's room for both. Like, there's room, for people that are offering photo video, people that are doing just video, just photo.
Yep.
There's a market for both of them.
Awesome.
It's just might be a little bit harder to get them if you is what I'm learning.
Perfect. All right, and then shout out for your socials and website and everything like that.
Just Michael Kelly Films.
Yep.
On I was gonna say everything, but it's like just Instagram.
You're not on TikTok doing dances?
I wish. Nah, not really. Not under Michael Kelly Films. That's a personal one.
But your personal one does have some very funny videos if anyone wants to go and watch.
Perfect.
Thanks for having me.
Nah, man, thank you
good
so much for
chat.
coming on, mate. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thanks for tuning in to the Wedco Podcast. We're dropping a fresh episode every week featuring industry professionals dishing out the wedding wisdom you need to turn those dreams into reality. Make sure you are following us on social media, you have those notifications turned on so we can help plan your wedding day. Your dream wedding day just got a whole lot easier. Thanks for listening.